Welcome back to the continuation of my testimony and how lust found me. I hope that you guys enjoyed the last video, and if you still have not watched it, please go watch it because we already went through 2 whole questions and now we are ending today with our last 4. I hope that you guys can stay tuned for all of it and continue to grow in truth with me. In the last video, we talked about how there are cycles that we fall into. There's a certain sorrow. If you still haven't watched it, go watch it. There's a certain sorrow that we fall into. There's also, alongside the cycles, there's a certain way that we make ourselves easy targets. Now, this is all based on what I learned within my journey. And there's a certain other lesson that I think is so crucial. And it is the fact that we end up finding the same demon in different sins. I know. It's quite insane, actually. The demon of lust is so much more than just sex. The demon of lust is all about satisfaction and gratification. You end up living for a master that claims it's going to satisfy and fulfill you, yet all you're doing is hiding away somewhere that's going to destroy you. So this demon of lust really does not care to come into your life in only one form. It wasn't just coming into my life through pornography and masturbation. For a season it was. For 1 season. But then eventually it turned into maladaptive daydreaming. Which I've talked to you guys about this. Daydreaming in such a way that it's almost like a drug. You can't release it because you have to think about it every single time. You know how many times I had to think about me having sex with someone before going to sleep because I literally could not get rest. Do you see how demented that is? It's because that's how lust works. It wants you to be so attached like a drug. Fall for it so that it can have you trapped for long periods of time. So after I was like, I'm so tired of masturbation and pornography, like I'm done. Then daydreaming entered my life. Then, what increased my daydreaming? Reading smut. Then out of nowhere, it was starting to enter my younger relationships where I started getting touchy with my little person. And then I'm over here like, wait, I am now seeing lust in every aspect of my life. It follows you in different forms. And let me tell you, let me add this. It came through my speech. It came through my jokes. It came through what I heard, what I would see. I literally found lust in everything. I found lust, guys, in the smallest details of how I was speaking to people. It's like that demonic thing is literally like a strand that can be found in everywhere that you walk to. That's where I say it is so dangerous to not approach this thing that is within you, this habit that is within you. And it's so much more dangerous to open up this thing to other conversations that you have with people. Don't just go around joking lustfully. Don't be in relationship with your partner that you claim to be walking in purity with, yet you're joking around about doing things with them. Don't knock on that door. Because I'm telling you, lust does not move gently. Lust is very aggressive in how it works within everyone's lives. So be wise in how you're joking and how you're speaking, in the things that you're declaring over yourself. Be wise in what you watch, in what you hear. Because eventually it's going to show up and re-invite itself into your life in a different form. And then if it somehow no longer has a grip over your life. Let's say you rid yourself of all these things. It's going to keep knocking at your door by provoking laziness, procrastination, stress, trying to get you to treat it as a refuge so you can come crawling back. I'm telling you, I live this. I live this where I got a little cocky. Yes, the amante got a little cocky. I said, ooh, I let go of this sin. Look at me. I'm such a goody two-shoes. Now, sin can't even touch me. And then the door would reopen in a different way that I didn't even expect. It would slap me in the face and then throw me right back to where I was before. That's how I would turn back. Because I quite literally thought, oh, it's not even in my life anymore. No, it came back in a new way. You have to protect yourself by evaluating the areas where pleasure and comfort are limiting your intimacy with God. There were many, many ways that I let pleasure and intimacy, pleasure and comfort, limit my intimacy with the Lord. Many times that I wouldn't pray because it simply was feeling uncomfortable. And then what did that do? That made me scroll. And then what did I find while I was scrolling? I found a video that enticed me, reminded me of something that I would watch before. And then what did I do? Went on the website, found stuff, and then boom, slipped up. Because the biggest mistake you can tell yourself is, oh, I'm going to watch something, but I'm not going to do anything to myself. It's crazy how we lie to ourselves. It's the equivalent when you're in a relationship. People are like in the same bedroom together, sleeping in the same bed, talking about, but we're not going to touch each other. You have to evaluate what is comfortable, what is comfortable, what is pleasurable, and how are these things now limiting my connection to the Lord? Because if you're not doing wiser things and making wiser choices and moving in wisdom, there's not a connection happening between you and the Lord. Because wisdom pours out from Him daily. He's always telling us where to go, what to do next. People are like, oh, well, what if God's being silent? Guys, even in His silence, He's directing you. Last from what I checked, from what I've seen, a GPS, even when it's silent, even when it's muted, it's still bringing you to where you need to go. I have my thing muted because I don't like it talking to me while I'm driving. Because I normally am playing music. Understandably so. Music, Siri's voice. I don't want that, you know? So I mute her. I mute my GPS. Does that mean that she's not talking to me anymore? She's not guiding me? No. She's muted, yet still leading me. So your God, that you claim even in His silence, oh, I have to survive this season of silence. No, babe, He's still guiding you. If you would just let Him evaluate in your life what is pleasing you to the point where you are getting too comfortable to where you're not letting Him evaluate these things that are honestly affecting your cravings. Because it's the same demon coming through different sins, different actions, bringing you back to the same place. You have to evaluate where, what, when, how. You have to evaluate these things honestly. Like, ask God, why in the world did I turn to that? Oh, because I got too comfortable this morning. I scrolled for too long and then that door opened and then blah, blah, blah. You know, it works if you would just be honest in your evaluation. I don't think enough people evaluate, like, how they fall, when they do. In fact, if anything, they just overthink it and then logically come up with an explanation for why they feel so weak in this sin. It's like, no, it actually has everything to do with the path that you're taking down comfort and pleasure. So move wisely and let the craving change. This brings us to our fourth question. When did my craving change? My craving changed. When pornography and masturbation were part of my craving, it was because I felt such a void in my life and I felt very empty in every other area. And it also, I have to fully admit to you, if we're going to be very honest here, I felt very distant from the time that I would feel pleasure because I knew I would be someone that was waiting until marriage. That's not a self-righteous thing to say, guys. I'm literally God Himself protected my purity. I say it because I had always feared like being intimate with the wrong person. So I always told myself I'm only going to be intimate with my husband. So I knew that I was waiting until marriage. In my head, it felt like a justification to be like, since I'm waiting until marriage, the least I can do is get some pleasure on my own. To my single people that have convinced themselves of such a truth, it's not true. It's a lie. It's actually a lie. Your craving does not have to be centered around gratification. When your craving is so selfish and it's so dependent on a temporary fix, then your life is going to feel like a big giant void where you're never really satisfied. Now, when my craving actually started changing, I have to fully admit to you, it came from a place where I started getting tired. Like, I was tired, guys. Can you imagine throughout all your adolescence, constantly knowing that you're doing this thing that's wrong, yet you can't help but go back to it? Do you know how exhausted I was? Apologizing, coming back. Apologizing, coming back. Like, that's exhausting. It's exhausting. Because I'm in love with my Father in heaven. He's been the best girl dad to me. I feel like, man, I'm never going to leave him. So I need to leave this. That's where my cravings started to change. Because I started to actually hate the sin. I started feeling, I want to explain this because I know I'm going to say this and then it could be misunderstood. I started feeling the timer of grace changing. When I say this, I mean that it no longer felt like I didn't know better. It started to feel like I knew better. Like, you have a season where you give yourself a lot of room to mess up because it's like, oh, well, I don't know any better. I'm still learning. A lot of young people are like, well, we're young. Like, we're going through it, This is the least that we could do is, like, come to God and, like, give him access to our mistakes. Like, man, isn't that a good thing? Absolutely, it's a good thing. But truthfully speaking, once you know better, it's actually expected of you to do better. So my closeness with grace was very distant for a long season. That season where I was in worldly sorrow, yeah, that season. I was so distant from grace. I did not know grace. And then eventually I started realizing, wait, I know better. Why am I not doing better? Am I not doing better because I need to reestablish who grace is in my life? Ding, ding, ding. That's precisely it. And I started realizing, oh, so the grace timer is kind of changing. Like, God is actually expecting more of me now. I need to step up. When I decided to step up, that's where I also realized, wait, this is causing me more damage than pleasure. I don't like this anymore. I don't want to open this door. I don't want to willfully fall into the sin over and over again. Alongside that, I started seeing that the sin was becoming visible on my skin. Oh, sorry. The sin was becoming visible on my skin. Oh my gosh. 'Cause exactly, it was. You could literally read it from my lips. I was clearly showing everyone, I'm addicted to porn, I'm addicted to porn, I'm addicted to porn. How? Because I couldn't stop joking about sex. I could not stop speaking so dirty. And I literally, everything I said was so like hopeless and dead and like everything that porn carries, I was reflecting through my mouth. And then you could also see it through my lack of ambition to obey the Lord. Everything that he was asking me to do in my household and my friendships and everything, I was simply not doing it. Even the little things, guys, even the little things like you're not doing very well in school or you're just not catering to the relationships around you. There are little things that show there's an idol in your life that's sucking you dry. You need to evaluate it because now it's becoming visible. It's the fruit that you bear. You know people by their fruit. And it's the fruit that you bear. If you start showing the sin visibly, it's probably a time to wake up and say, I don't want this anymore. Because it's now reaping through my harvest and I don't want it. I don't want this garden. Because it's going to poison everyone around me. It's going to poison every meal that I even give to myself. I'm tired of it. Don't want it. So when it started becoming visible on me, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done here. And then on top of that, I said, it was more I got tired of the constant repentance and I just wanted a relationship with him. I was tired of my relationship with God being so centered on apologies. And I don't know if you feel that. I don't know if you have ever felt that. I was so tired of going to my Father with a huge apology and never just being like, hey, I'm here because I love you. The only time I really prayed was because I wholeheartedly was just drowning in grief and being like, I'm so sorry, I did it again. And then I would have these days where I didn't speak to him. So it was like the only reason for the relationship was because I felt bad. And then it felt like I wasn't really in love with him. And then I realized he was my dad. How could I ever do that to him? So that, all in all, this is where my cravings started to change. Your cravings start to change really where you get tired of the results that sin is bringing in your life. That's what, you have to hate it, guys. You have to hate sin so much to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm letting this go. And I want to remind you of a verse. I love this verse. I love this verse so much. It's 1 John 2, verses 16 and 17. It says, for the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world. And this world is fading away, along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. When I started to sit with the one who doesn't fade away, it's another word. When you start taking time to rest with the one who never fades away, your cravings start changing. There's nothing that you can do when your body literally yearns for lust that will set you free. Your craving has to change. You have to no longer desire it so heavily. And the only way you do that is by igniting the Spirit in you to realize I want the eternal thing, not the temporary thing. And yes, I got very tired of loving a temporary thing that was only breaking me. It was literally breaking everything that I was. It was breaking my household with how many times I had to literally tread lightly and walk around and lie about this and lie about that. I was tired. It was treading around my relationships and my friendships that I was over here I couldn't even be who I am, which is a joyful person. That's who God has called me to be, is a joyful, loving person. I couldn't be that because everything in me was dead. I was so tired. So I would always go to church with this perspective of another day where I'm not going to be satisfied by the preaching. I'm not going to be touched by the worship. I'm just going to walk in and walk out the same. I literally lived with that mentality. And it broke me every day. It broke me every day the lonelier I got. Because then, sooner or later, lust just puts you in a room, you and her. I like saying her. It feels like a Jezebel. You and her, just in the room. Does that on purpose, to isolate you from everything else. So that eventually, you get so tired of the company. Get so tired of getting up and putting on a fake mask in front of others that you just lock yourself inside the room and you no longer welcome any other insight. You don't welcome advice. You don't welcome an embrace. You end up hating yourself and hating your life, and it's a whole rabbit hole that this thing brings out. And it ends up trying to stray you away from company, which brings us to our next question. Who did I let into my battle for accountability? My battle with lust, it was one, I have to say, I've always been a very open person. So when I dealt with lust, I quite literally, I was open with people. I would say, I'm struggling, whatever. I would also always say, oh yeah, I used to. I would never like to admit in the moment that I did. I would lie to people. I would tell them, they'd be like, how are you? I'm like, oh yeah, I was struggling when I'm actively struggling. I say that because I know that that's probably a battle for many people, is to admit that you are present in the struggle. Do not fear admitting that you are present in the struggle because of the judgment that will come from people. Do not fear man, because confessing honestly and with integrity will hold you more accountable than acting like this thing is in the past. I used to struggle with it. I don't struggle with it anymore. And then you're actively still in it. Babe, you're literally kicking out the company that could be helping you. Be honest about where you are. Don't be an Adam. Don't be like Adam, where he's in the garden. He literally just messed up. He let his beautiful Eve eat the fruit. And then now you're going to come over here? Like, the Lord is like, where are you? I don't know where I am. Be honest about where you are. I'm totally not over here. We're not Adam. You're something different. Be honest. Because you have Jesus. And Jesus gives you company. He gives you the right company around you. You know who I had as my accountability? I had, of course, God. I had my mom. And then I had some close girlfriends. Firstly, let's start there. Do not use the opposite sex as a means of holding you accountable. Don't do that. Just don't. Because it doesn't help when it's midnight and you're on the phone together talking about, oh, this is the thing that's getting me turned on. This is the thing that's getting me turned on. Oh, really? Tell me more. Guys, it doesn't help. I promise. Is my phone, is it gonna die? No. Hold on, the camera's dying. The amount of little things that have happened, you're telling me the enemy doesn't hate me right now? I love doing God's will. I love doing his will. We're back. And we're still talking. Because I did, in fact, I was talking about my accountability people. I used my mommy, my dearest girlfriends, and God. And then, of course, any mentorship, any leadership that could give me any sense of advice, I would always seek that out. But I highly recommend, guys, be wise with who you're sharing your story with. Why do I say this? Firstly, read your own intentions. If you're sharing the story to brag about the doors that you've opened in the past, which, yes, people do this. If you're sharing your story in the light that, like, you want to talk about it, you want to talk about the doors you've opened in a way that's not very holy, don't do that. Just be wise about who you share this information with. And why do I say this? I'm going to bring scripture. 1 Corinthians 10, 12 and 13 say, if you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. The temptations in your life are no different than what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. And when you're tempted, he will always show you a way out so that you can endure. Beautiful verse. Amazing verse. But I love that first part. This says, if you're standing strong, be careful not to fall. That's referring to every believer that is seeing people around them slip up. Maybe they themselves are slipping up. Whatever it is, you have to utilize community well. You have to utilize it to build you up, not encourage your behavior, not tear you down, not belittle you in religiousness. You need to be around the good community that's going to tell you honestly, hey, so from what I'm hearing, this was probably the better decision to make. Now here's how maybe next time this can help you. And I'm also here to listen to any other struggle you may have. That's good community. Good mentors are people that will still see what God sees in you, even after hearing your mistakes. If you, respectfully, I say this so boldly, if you have pastors, mentors, leaders that treat you differently after you've made a mistake, after you expose something so honestly, you confront them, you bring that to the Lord, and you walk that out in wisdom. Because respectfully, that's not what a leader's meant to do. A leader's meant to guide you, to hear what you said and say, okay, this is where the Lord is still calling you though. So walk in bold wisdom. But If you have people around you that are using the information incorrectly, do not give them more information. Make sure that you are being wise in who you tell, and check the intentions of your heart. I told many people my struggles. But sorry, that looked like a scary story. I told many people my struggles. People that did not need to know what I was going through. People that did not need to know how honest I was willing to be. I made some unwise decisions on who I told about my battles, and I was very much, I received the consequences because I literally got judged so hard. And it changed my perspective about what it meant to confess to our brothers and sisters. You have to confess wisely. You have to go to where God leads you to go. And make sure that you don't tell your story in ways that will damage your testimony. Big one for TikTok. This is specifically for TikTok. If you're going to share your story or your struggles about lust, don't do it in a way that will make people doubt faith. It is my least favorite thing in this whole wide world. Least favorite thing. When people post on social media, but mainly I see it on TikTok, vulnerably about the struggles that they go through at lust, and then they don't give any hope. It's like, oh my goodness, I wish I could find one. It's like being a Christian and dealing with the guilt that comes from having sex in the back seat with my boyfriend. Do you see how silence did nothing? Because everyone in the comment section is not very hopeful. They're just all like, oh my gosh, I literally slipped up yesterday. I need so much help. And then no one gives them help. No one tells them there's hope. No one tells them that there's wisdom. No one tells them that there's freedom. Instead, everyone's just telling their stories relating to each other and then not knowing what freedom is, which is found in Christ. What's the point of social media? What's the point of influencing people with your story if you're not going to influence them to find freedom? What is the point? I don't want you talking about your struggles if you're only going to whine about it. And I say that with all boldness in my heart. Do not talk about your story with lust to other people if there's no hope in it. Wait a little bit. Find the right community to encourage you so that you can find hope first. Because clearly what you need is hope. Notice how I did not talk about my struggle with porn or masturbation on the internet until I realized, wait, there is freedom. Let me show them. If there are people around you that are not giving you hope, you need to find good community that will. And pray for it. Guys, don't even just depend on yourself to find good community. Pray for the community because God will give it to you. Struggles need to be shared with those who are mature. So I learned so much in my journey about sharing. Because I have to admit to you guys, growing in truth was not always wise. I would talk so much. That's my personal, I speak very honestly, that's my personal little struggles that I tend to speak ahead of myself and I don't think through everything. It has taken the spirit for me to be wise in what I'm saying. Before, I used to just share anything. Thank God we're free from that. Amen. Now, the last question. Oh my goodness. This is the one that I pray it enlightens you. What do I do to protect myself from looking back? What do I do to protect myself from looking back? Because now I'm 21. I'm no longer 12-year-old Monte. I know better than to... I can speak honestly because I know that this is the same trigger for many people. I know better than to scroll social media first thing in the morning because I know it doesn't prep my heart very well. It already makes me a weak person. It makes my mind weak. It doesn't guard me. And then I walk into my day, and then when things make me feel exhausted, then I start thinking, where's my old refuge? I know better. Things that would trigger the sin. things like what I was hearing, mainly what I was watching. There was many shows that I'm already like, I can't watch because I already know it's going to open some sort of door. So many things that I had to surrender. Guys, that's a big thing. You have to surrender your curiosity. You really do. Because you know how many shows I've heard about that I'm like, that sounds really good. Example, Euphoria. You don't think that sounds pretty interesting? Everyone's talking about it. Sounds like a good time. Can't watch it because apparently it's so graphic in nudity that it could open a door. See how you have to have self-control to not open certain doors and think that you are strong enough to open those doors? Even if it's innocently. Someone might be like, oh, you're doing too much. Like, I can watch Euphoria and be fine. Okay, well then when there's an image in your head that screenshots and is like, that was a pretty image. I think I want more of that. And then, because we all know you don't have access to the website anymore because we live in Florida, you quite literally go on X or you go on some other site or app that has more access for you. I know my struggles. I know what triggers. You have to know your struggles. You have to know what triggers you. You have to know the things that are going to pull you back in. I'm going to remind you of this verse. Luke 17:32 and 33 say, remember what happened to Lot's wife? If you cling to your life, you will lose it. And if you let it go, for my sake, you will save it. I love this because if you don't know the story of Lot's wife, we know that they were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were running. Lot and the angels and Lot's wife. They were running. And the angels literally command them, don't turn back, or else you're going to turn into salt. What did Lot's wife do? Sorry, it's just the image that I get that it was so dramatic in my head. She turns back. Why? Because she clung on to her life. This verse literally gave us a secret. If you don't want to be like Lot's wife, constantly turning back to your sin, constantly turning back to the lust, you have to let go of your life. I had to let go of my life. I had to stop being in such control over what satisfies me, over what feels good, over even down to the small things. I'm not just talking about straight lustful things. I'm talking about the part of me that would stress eat rather than pray. I'm talking about the part of me that would rather scroll after having a long day than pray and read my word. The part of me that would rather daydream sexually rather than give my thoughts and take them captive before I go to sleep. I'm talking about that kind of letting go of your life. Let go of the control of your life because every little thing pours into your field. You think it's just this little battle of lust? No, it is a huge field of actions and decisions and fruit. You have to make a good small decision and a good small decision and a good small decision in order to make then the big one, which is, will I turn back? No, you won't, because your craving has changed. The cycle has stopped. You're done turning back. When we turn back, it's literally because we don't trust the one that is asking us to just look forward and run from the city that he is actively destroying because he no longer wants it to be part of our lives. He finally sees how tired you are, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna take this for you. I'm a gentleman, and I wait for you to tell me when to go into your life and start working. But I can tell you're desperate, and you've already surrendered so many times. I'm gonna start working. I'm gonna destroy this city. Just don't look back. And then if you look back, you know what you're saying? I don't trust God with my pleasure. I don't trust God to satisfy every void. And in fact, I only really trust myself in order to have control over the things that I want. You have to trust God. You have to trust him. Like, it's such a t-shirt type of faith to say trust God. It sounds like it is. Like, it sounds like, oh, that should just be on a mug. No, that is like foundational. That is the essence of your relationship is based on your trust to him. I did not trust him to satisfy my life, so I would turn back. But the day I started being like, you know what? My pleasure is in your hands. My life satisfied is in your plans. Sorry. My surrender of control is going to be constant, and I will take up my cross daily because I don't want this anymore. When you decide to no longer turn back, you start living like 1 Peter 1. 1 Peter 1, 14 and 15. So you must live as God's obedient children. Don't slip back into your old ways of living to satisfy your own desires. You didn't know any better then. But now you must be holy in everything you do, just as God who chose you is holy. Don't slip back into your old ways of living to satisfy your own desires. You didn't know any better then, but now you know better. You serve a God who's holy and he's faithful. He wants to satisfy every desire, including this beautiful desire that is sexual drive, that is meant to be satisfied in covenant in the midst of love. But the minute it's impatient and it doesn't want to wait, it's lust, and it's going to break apart your entire life. You have to understand, desires will rise back up again. You don't think, I'm young. I'm young. Although I say, yes, I'm beautifully set free from lust. I no longer serve that master. But you don't think there's a part of me that desires satisfaction every now and then? What do I do with that? I put it on pause. It's like the little, anytime it rises up and it tries to make me look back, I have to remind it, oh, I'm an obedient child of God. I actually won't slip back into my old ways because I didn't know better then, but I know better now. So I'm gonna actually live out holiness. I'm sorry. I'm gonna crucify my flesh. You know better now. So what do? You do what 1 Peter 5 says, verses 8 and 9. Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion. It's so crazy that they use that because, the Lord is like the Lion of Judah. So it's almost like a mockery. But anyway, sorry. Looking for someone to devour. Stand firm against him and be strong in your faith. And remember this. Remember that your family of believers all over the world are going through the same kind of suffering you are. You're not the only one that's going from horny to holy, babe. We are all fighting this battle of purity together, and we're all growing in our knowledge of knowing better. So we have to understand that there will be another season for pleasure in a more holy way. I had to understand that God is calling us, our generation, to live a life of pure worship, where we learn to have self-control even when everything around us is showing us, do whatever you want. And I also had to remember that his suffering was done to set me free. So the least I could do is suffer by crucifying my flesh every day. I don't want to purposefully nail my Savior onto the cross every single day over and over again, so I refuse to look back. I am now confidently in the place where I refuse to look back. And I want you to be in that place too, where you literally refuse to look back because you've grown to hate the sin, you hate its manipulation and how it involves itself in your life, you hate that it creates distance between you and God, and you hate not using his resources well. As the unlimited resources that Ephesians 3 talks about. I've been feeling that chapter these past few weeks. But it is literally his unlimited resources that are trying to show you there is better. And it is the same resources that found me, the same resources that restored me. And now I can say I'm free from lust, which is an amazing thing to say, because I remember being 16 and saying, I will never be free of this thing. Now I look and I realize freedom was never going to be in some emotional surrender. It was discipline that built in my life over time, and now I'm free. So I hope that my story can impact you. I hope that you're able to see where lust can come from and how you can truly fight it off. Because it's definitely a fight, but it's one that if you work strategically, you will not be stuck forever. I pray that in every part of my story, even the most vulnerable parts, knowing the story from the beginning all the way into now, it does feel heavy, but it's such a beautiful thing when the Lord is carrying it with me. It's like the yoke is just so much better. So I pray it impacted you. And maybe you can look at your life and wonder, where did the door open? And how can I make sure that it remains shut? I love you guys so much. And I cannot wait to continue moving forward with this beautiful series. I know it's going to set all of us free. So continue to walk in truth and grow from horniness to holiness. Find freedom, knowing that He has it waiting for you in your hands, just like He did with me.